ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः अरुणाचल शिवाय अरुणाचल शिवाय अरुणाचल शिवाय Namaskar. I am starting fourth video on talks with Ramana Maharshi, starting with talk number 52. A man from Kokonada asked, "My mind remains clear for 2 or 3 days and turns dull for the next 2 or 3 days, and so it alternates. What is it due to?" Maharshi replies, "It is quite natural. It is the play of brightness, sattva, activity, rajas, and darkness, tamas, alternating. Do not regret the tamas. But when sattva comes into play, hold on to it fast and make the best of it." Devotee, what is the heart? Maharshi, it is the seat, if such could be said of it, of the self. Devotee, is it the physical heart? Maharshi, no, it is the seat wherefrom I, I arises. Devotee, what becomes of the jiva after death? Maharshi replies, the question is not appropriate for a jiva now living. A disembodied jiva may ask me if convenient. In the meantime, let the embodied jiva solve its present problem and find who he is. There will be an end of such doubts. Devotee, what is dhyana? Maharshi, the word dhyana usually signifies meditation on some object, whereas nidhi dhyasana is used for enquiry into the self. The threads persist until the self is realized. Dhyana and nidhi dhyasana are the same so far as the aspirant is concerned because they involve Trinity and are synonymous with bhakti. Devotee, how should dhyana be practiced? Maharshi, dhyana serves to concentrate the mind. The predominant idea keeps off all others. Dhyana varies according to the individual. It may be on an aspect of God, on a mantra, or on the self, etc. Talk number 53. 15th June 1935, talk number 53. A young man, Mr. Knowles, came from Darshan, came for Darshan. He had read Paul Brunton's two books. He asked, the Buddhists say that I is unreal, whereas Paul Brunton in The Secret Path tells us to get over the I thought and reach the state of I, which is true. Maharshi, there are supposed to be two I's. The one is lower and unreal, of which all are aware, and the other the higher and the real, which is to be realized. You are not aware of yourself while asleep. You are aware in wakefulness, waking. You say that you were asleep. You did not know it in the deep sleep state. So then, the idea of diversity has arisen along with the body consciousness. This body consciousness arose at the same particular moment. It has origin and end. What originates must be something. What is that something? It is the I consciousness. Who am I? Whence am I? On finding the source, you realize the state of absolute consciousness. Devotee, who is this I? It seems to be only a continuum of sense impression. The Buddhist idea seems to be so too. Maharishi, the world is not external. The impressions cannot have an outer origin because the world can be cognized only by consciousness. The world does not say what it that it exists. It is your impression. Even so, this impression is not consistent and not unbroken. In deep sleep, the world is not cognized, and so it exists not for sleeping man. Therefore, the world is the sequence of the ego. Find out the ego. The finding of its source is the final goal. Devotee, I believe that we should not inflict suffering on other lives. Should we then endure the mosquito bite and submit to it also? Maharishi, you do not like to suffer yourself. How can you inflict suffering on others? Just keep off mosquitoes since you suffer by their stings. Devotee, is it right that we kill other lives? For example, mosquitoes, bugs? Maharishi, everyone is a suicide. The eternal, blissful, and natural state has been smothered by this life of ignorance. In this way, the present life is due to the killing of the eternal, pristine being. It is not a case of suicide. So then, everyone is a suicide. Why worry about murders and killings? In the course of a later talk, the visitor said, the world sends impressions and I awake. Maharishi, can the world exist without someone to perceive it? Which is prior, the being consciousness or the rising consciousness? The being consciousness is always there, eternal and pure. The rising consciousness rises forth and disappears. It is transient. Devotee, does not the world exist for others even when I am asleep? Maharshi, such a world mocks at you also for knowing it without knowing yourself. The world is the result of your mind. Know your mind, then see the world. You will realize that it is not different from the self. Devotee, is it not Maharshi aware of himself and his surroundings as clearly as I am? Maharshi, to whom is the doubt? The doubts are not for the realized, they are only for ignorant. 16th June 1935, talk number 54. An Andhra Pandit, an elderly gentleman, had some doubts regarding Kavyakant's exposition of Advaita. He has found it in books that Brahma is free from Sajatiya, Vijatiya, and Savagata Bheda. Such conditions are satisfied in Vivar- Vivartavada but not in Parinamavada. In the later, Savagata Bheda is bound to be. The master pointed out that Dakshinamurti did not teach anything of the kind. He did not say that Brahma is related to Sakti or not related. All that was only silence, and the doubts of the Shishyas, disciples, were cleared. The significance is that there is nothing to be learned, discussed, and concluded. Everyone knows I am. There is the confusion that the I is the body because the I arises from the absolute and gives rise to buddhi, intellect. In buddhi, the I looks the size and shape of the body. Na medhaya means that Brahma cannot be apprehended by buddhi. Brahma leads to aham, I leads to buddhi, intellect. How can such buddhi crossing over aham discover Brahma? It is impossible. Just get over the false conception of the I being the body. Discover to whom the thoughts arise. If the present I-ness vanishes, the discovery is complete. What remains over is the pure self. Compare deep sleep and wakefulness. Diversity and body are found only in the latter. In the former, the self remains without the perception of body or of the world. Happiness reigns there. The Shruti Vakya, Aham Brahmasmi, relates to the state and not to or not the mode of mind. One cannot become Brahma by continuing to repeat the mantra. It means that Brahma is not elsewhere. It is yourself. Find that self. Brahma is found. Do not attempt to reach Brahma as if it were in some far off place. What a great revelation. That means Brahma and our Atma are not different. Brahma and Atma are same. The Pandit remarked that thoughts are so persistent that the Aham cannot be reached. The master said, the Brahma Akara Vritti helps to turn the mind away from other thoughts. Either some such practice is necessary or association with sadhus should be made. The sadhu has already overcome the mind and remains in peace. His proximity helps us to bring about such condition in others. Otherwise, there is no meaning in seeking a sadhu's company. Deho ahem, I am the body, is limitation and is the root of all mean and selfish actions and desires. Brahma ahem, I am Brahma, is passing beyond limitation and signifies sympathy, charity, love, etc., which are divine and virtuous. Devotee, how does a grihastha householder fare in the scheme of moksha, liberation? Maharshi, why do you think you are a grihastha? If you go out as a sannyasi, a similar thought that you are a sannyasi will haunt you. Whether you continue in the household or renounce it and go to the forest, your mind haunts you. The ego is the source of thoughts. It creates the body and the world and makes you think you are a grihastha. If you renounce the world, it will only substitute the thought sannyasi for grihastha and the environments of the forest for those of the household. But the mental obstacles are always there. They even increase in new surroundings. There is no help in the change of environment. The obstacle is the mind. It must be got over whether at home or in the forest. If you can do it in the forest, why not the home? Therefore, why change the environment? Your efforts can be made even now in whatever environment you may be. The environment never abandons you according to your desire. Look at me. I left home. Look at yourselves. You have come here leaving the home environment. What do you find here? Is this different from what you left? Even if one is immersed in nirvikalpa samadhi for years together, when he emerges from it, he will find himself in the environment, which is which he is bound to have. That is the reason for the Acharya emphasizing Sahaja Samadhi in preference to Nirvikalpa Samadhi in his excellent work Vivek Chudamani. One should be in spontaneous samadhi, that is, in one's pristine state, in the midst of every environment. Later on, Sri Bhagwan said, control of breath may be internal or external. The antah pranayama, the internal breath regulation is as follows. Na aham chinta. I am not the body idea is rechaka. Exhalation. Koham. Who am I? Is puraka. Inhalation. Soham. I am he. Is kumbhaka. Retention of breath. Doing thus the breath becomes automatically controlled. Bahi pranayama. External control is for one not endowed with strength to control the mind. There is no way so sure as that or a sadhu's company. The external practice must be resorted to by a wise man if he does not enjoy a sadhu's company. If in a sadhu's company, the sadhu provides the needed strength, though unseen by others. Pranayama need not be exactly as described in Hatha Yoga. If engaged in japa, dhyana, bhakti, etc., just a little control of breath will suffice to control the mind. The mind is the rider and the breath the horse. Pranayama is a check on the horse. By that check, the rider is checked. Pranayama may be done just a little. To watch the breath is one way of doing it. The mind, abstracted from other activities, is engaged in watching the breath. That controls the breath, and in its turn, the mind is controlled. If unable to do so, Rejka and Puraka need not be practiced. Breath may be retained a short while in japa, dhyana, etc. Then two good results will follow. 18th June 1935, talk number 55, devotee. Can Advaita be realized by japa of holy names, say Rama, Krishna, etc.? Maharshi, yes. Devotee, is it not a means of an inferior order? Maharshi, have you been told to make japa or to discuss it in order to scheme of things? Silence. 22nd June 1935, talk number 56. A youth of 20 asked how to realize the self. He sat down in silence and waited more than an hour and then was about to leave. While doing so, he asked, devotee, how to realize self? Maharshi, who's the self? Find out. Devotee, who am I? Maharshi, find it yourself. Devotee, I do not know. Maharshi, think. Who is it that says I do not know? What is not known? In that statement, who is the I? Devotee, somebody in me. Maharshi, who is the somebody in whom? Devotee, maybe some power. Maharshi, find it. Devotee, how to realize Brahma? Maharshi, without knowing the self, why do you seek to know Brahma? Devotee, the Shastras say Brahma pervades all and me too. Maharshi, find the I in me and then there will be time to think of Brahma. Devotee, why was I born? Mercy, who was born? The answer is the same for all of your questions. Devotee, who am I then? Maharshi, smiling, have you come to examine me and ask me? You must say who you are. Devotee, in deep sleep, the soul leaves the body and remains elsewhere. When it re enters, I awake. Is it so? Maharshi, what is it that leaves the body? Devotee, the power, perhaps. Maharshi, find out the power. Devotee, the body is composed of five elements. What are the elements? Maharshi, without knowing the self, how do you aim at knowing the elements? The young man sat a while and left with permission. The master remarked later, all right, it will work. 23rd June 1935. Talk number 57. Sri Bhagwan said that Susmana is the name mostly mentioned in scripture. Other names also occur. For example, Para, Atma, Amrita. It is also stated that Susmana becomes Leena, merged in Para. So it may be said that Para is the terminology of Jnana, whereas Susmana is that of Yoga. 24th June 1935. A doubt in Sri Ramana Gita answered. Chapter 14, stanza 10 reads, with yet further progress, invisibility also may result. Such an one, being pure consciousness, only flourishes as a siddha. Chapter 18, last stanza reads, the glory of the Siddhis is past imagination. They are equal to Shiva. Yeah, Shiva himself in being able to grant boons. The meaning is that with self realization, real and incessant taps results. With the maturing of such tapas, some jnanis can make their bodies intangible and invisible. They are known as siddhas. Later, the greatness of the siddhas is incomprehensible. They are equal to Shiva and can even grant boons. So said Sri Bhagwan. There is an Upanishad mantra, Atma Jnanam Hayarchet Bhuti Kamaha. English translation. One desirous of liberation or wealth must survey self realized says. Here is no mention of Siddha for granting boons. The Jnani can do so. The mantra again, Swe Mahimani Pratistha, abiding in his own grandeur. Anantam Brahma, Brahma is infinite, will seem confounding when read with the slokas cited above. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, all this is Brahma. Brahmavid Brahmayava Bhavati. The knower of Brahma becomes Brahma himself. So that a jnani is sarv, sarvya, sarvajana, sarvaj, that is all knower. What then is the distinction between the jnani and the siddha and the ability of the latter to grant boons, implying the absence of it in former? This was the doubt. The master explained. The Gita questions were asked in a certain spirit. The answers were according to it. People look to the body only and they want siddhis also. With self-realization, no powers can extend even into it, and how can they extend beyond? People, actions for siddhis are not content with their idea of jnana and so want siddhis associated with it. They are likely to neglect the supreme happiness of jnana and aspire for siddhis. For this, they are going through the bylanes instead of the royal path and so will likely lose their way. In order to guide them aright and keep them on the royal road alone, the siddhis are said to accompany jnana. In fact, jnana comprises all, and a jnani will not waste even a thought on them. Let the people get jnana and then seek siddhis if they so desire. I have said, Sarira, Samasraya, Siddhya. The Siddhis relate to the body because their outlook is concerning the body. A Jnani and Siddha are not different. In Varan Datam, to bestow boons, the boons include Atma Labha, the gain of self also. The Siddhis are not merely of an inferior order but of the highest order. The Shastras are meant to suit varying conditions. Their spirit remains the same. In Halsaya Mahima, there is a chapter on the eightfold Siddhis. There Shiva says that his bhakta never wastes a thought on them. Again, Shiva says that he never grants boons. The desires of the devotees are fulfilled according to their prarabdha only. When Isvara himself says so, what of others? In order to display siddhis, there must be others to recognize them. That means there is no jnana in the one who displays them. Therefore, siddhis are not worthy of any thought. Jnana alone is to be aimed at and gained. Sri Ramana Gita chapter 17 verse 4 translation in Tamil is inaccurate. Sri Bhagwan pointed out the inaccuracy and corrected it. Vedarbha's question was, in practice, the thoughts are found to manifest and subside alternately. In this jnana, Sri Bhagwan explained the doubt as follows. Some people think that there are different stages in jnana. The self is a nitya aproksa, that is ever realized knowingly or unknowingly. Sarvana, they argue, should therefore be aproksa jnana, directly experienced, and not proksa jnana, indirect knowledge. But jnana should result in dukha nivarti, loss of misery, whereas sarvana alone does not bring it about. Therefore they say, though approxa it is not unshaken. The rising of vasanas is the cause of its being weak, not unchanging. When the vasanas are removed, jnana becomes unshaken and bears fruit. Others say sarvana is only proksa jnana. By manana, reflection, it becomes aproxa, spasmodically. The obstruction to its continuity is the vasanas. They rise up with reinforced vigor after manana. They must be held in check. Such vigilance consists in remembering I am not the body and adhering to the aproxa anubhava, direct experience, which has been had in course of manana reflection. Such practice is called nididhyasana and eradicate the vasanas, then dance the sahaja state, that is jnana, sure. The aproxa in manana cannot affect dukha nivarti, loss of misery, and cannot amount to moksha, that is release from bondage, because the vasanas periodically overpower the jnana. Hence it is adridha, weak, and becomes firm after the vasanas have been eradicated by nididhyasana, one pointedness. Sri Ramana Gita again. Mr. T. K. S. Iyer, a devotee, was speaking of the chakras. Sri Bhagavan said, Atma, the self alone is to be realized. Its realization holds all else in its compass. Sakti, Ganpati, Siddhis, etc. are included in it. Those who speak of these have not realized the Atma. Oh my God. My dear friends, each and every revelation of Maharshi is remarkable. What a wonderful remark. Those who talk about Sakti, Ganpati, Siddhis, Riddhis, etc., that means they have not realized their Atma. Wonderful. Dear friends, remember this fact. Wonderful. Because those who have not realized their Atma and they start preaching, that becomes a very, that is not good until and unless somebody is self-realized, he should not give his views on jnana. So to remove such doubts, I have started these videos so that people should know the exact knowledge given by our Maharshi, our sages. There should not be any doubt. Atma is in the heart and is the heart itself. See, this heart and Atma. See, remember, Atma and Brahma, there is no distinction. Atma and Brahma are same. Brahma is infinite, Atma is infinite, and Atma is a heart. That means heart is also infinite. So we cannot confine the term heart in our finite body. So, dear friends, please try to understand. As Atma, Brahma, and heart are not different. Atma is infinite, heart is infinite, Brahma is infinite. So these are the points we are supposed to know and remember, and then our Brahmagyan becomes easy to digest. Otherwise, you carry on reading and listening videos and carry on reading books. Nothing will go. It will be just like a film, what we see on the screen. So we have to, main points we have to remember. Atma, Paramatma, and heart. And heart is not physical heart. That is actually called a spiritual heart. The Upanishads say Pralina, meaning that Susmana or such nadis are all comprised in Para, that is the Atma Nadi. Dear friends, we can recognize Susmana. Very simple. Normally, we are breathing either through Ida or through Pingla. When we are breathing through Susmana, that time you are in the state of bliss. Remember this. During 24 hours, sometimes you are so happy automatically. That means you are breathing through your Susmana. Remember that. So these are the points we have to remember. When you are feeling so happy without your knowing, that means you are breathing through Susmana. Otherwise, normally we are breathing either through Ida or through Pingla. So, Susmana is in the middle of Ida and Pingla. The Upanishads, Atma is in the heart and is the heart itself. See, these are the points we have to remember. Because there must be some sort of coordination. Coordination becomes like this. Atma and Brahma same. Atma, Brahma and heart same. That means heart cannot be confined in the body. As Atma is infinite, Brahma is infinite, then heart is also infinite. So, heart cannot be confined and located in the body. But very simple. The manifestation is in the brain. The passage from the heart to the brain might be considered to be through Sushumna or a nerve with any other name. So remember, dear friends, whenever you feel you are so happy, for some time, that means that time you are breathing through Sushumna. And this Nadi Sushumna has to be clean, it is to be purified. Ida, Pingla and Sushmana nadis until unless they are impure and not purified, our Kundalini Shakti, that is called Chitta Shakti, does not rise. And when it starts rising, it rises through Sushmana. You have to remember, dear friends. When you sit in meditation, visualize, that is the practical I am telling you. Visualize that your Kundalini Shakti is awakened, your Sushmana Nadi is refined, it is purified. Now the Kundalini Shakti is rising through Sushmana, it enters the Muladhara Chakra, then it rises further, reaches the Swadhisthana Chakra, then it further rises, it reaches to Manipur Chakra. And likewise, see, dear friends, after few days or months practice, you can experience that flow of current. So I'll give videos separately. Let me continue with my current topic because I am also tempted to tell something which I have, experienced. I am tempted to say something so that others may be benefited. See, dear friends, these are not something very secret. It's a very open knowledge. Only thing we have to read the books or just see watch videos only about the teachings of sages like Ramakrishna, Maharshi Ramana, Swami Vivekananda, and Satya Sai Baba. Dear friends, I tell you, I have I have read so many books about all these sages. You will not find any difference, any difference. Because truth is one. Remember this. Truth is one. And a sage means truth. Whatever Maharshi Ramana says, equally the same thing will be told by Ramakrishna Paramahansa, Swami Vivekananda, and Satya Sai Baba. My dear friends, do not have any prejudice against any sage. That is our weakness. People they tell so many things about our sages. This is what our weakness. We must have full faith. Until unless you have faith, you will not be benefited. You will not be benefited. Satya Sai Baba. Satya Sai Baba's one sentence is just a sentence from Veda. Same way, Maharshi Ramana, one sentence means Ved Vake. Ramakrishna Paramhansa, his utterances are like Ved Vake. So we must have faith in our sages and do not give your ear to the talk by people who are completely ignorant. They know nothing about Brahma Gyan, Atma Gyan and all. That is, please avoid, do not read books just like that. That's why I am giving these videos purely from the books of Maharshi Ramana, Satya Sai Baba, or I will give some other videos from the literature of Paramahansa, Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda because you will never find any difference. They have told the same thing. So please, now 4th July 1935, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, talk number 58. Mr. Ranganathan, ICS, in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, there is a passage. One's own dharma is the best, An alien dharma is full of risks. What is the significance of one's own dharma? Maharshi. It is usually interpreted to mean the duties of the orders and of the different castes. The physical environment must also be taken into consideration. Devotee, if Varnasrama dharma be meant, such dharma prevails only in India. On the other hand, the Gita should be universally applicable. Maharshi, there is a Varnasrama in some form or other in every land. The significance is that one should hold on to the single Atma and not swerve therefrom. That is the whole gist of it. Swa, one's own, that is of the self of the Atma. Para, the others, that is of the non-self of the Anatma. Atma Dharma is inherence in the self. There will be no distraction and no fear. Troubles arise only when there is a second to oneself. If the Atma be realized to be only unitary, there is no second and therefore no cause for it, no causes for fear. The man as he is now confounds the anatma non-self, dharma with atma, the self, dharma and suffers. Let him know the self and abide in it. There is an end of fear and there are no doubts. Even if interpreted as varnasrama dharma, the significance is only this much. Such dharma bears fruit only when done selflessly. That is, one must realize that he is not the doer, but that he is only a tool of some higher power. Let the higher power do what is inevitable, and let me act only according to its dictates. The actions are not mine. Therefore, the result of the actions cannot be mine. If one thinks and acts so, where is the trouble? Be it Varnasrama Dharma or Lokita Dharma, worldly activities, it is immaterial. Finally, it amounts to this Sava, Atma of the self, Para, Anatma of the non self. Such doubts are natural. The orthodox interpretation cannot be reconciled with the life of a modern man obliged to work for his livelihood in different capacities. A man from Pondi interposed, Sarv Dharman Prityajata Mamekam Sarnam Varja, leaving all duties surrender to me only. Sri Bhagwan replies, all survives only anatmanaha of the non-self. The emphasis on ekam only. To the man who has a strong hold of the eka one, where are the dharmas? It means be sunk in the self. Devotee, the Gita was taught for action. Maharshi, what does the Gita say? Arjuna refused to fight. Krishna said, so long as you refuse to fight, you have the sense of doership. Who are you to refrain or to act? Give up the notion of doership. Until that sense disappears, you are bound to act. You are being manipulated by a higher power. You are admitting it by your own refusal to submit to it. Instead, recognize the power and submit as a tool. Or, to put it differently, if you refuse, you will be forcibly drawn into it. Instead of being an unwilling worker, be a willing one. Rather, be fixed in the self and act according to nature without the thought of doership. Then the results of action will not affect you. That is manliness and heroism. Thus, inherence in the self is the sum and substance of Gita teaching. Finally, the Master himself added, if a man be established in the self, these doubts would not arise, they arise only until he is established there. Devotee. Then of what use is such reply to the enquirer? Maharshi, the words still have force and will surely operate in the due course. See, I am also giving videos on Satya Sai Baba's Gita, that is called Sai Gita. Actually, in 1984, there were riots. Madam Indira Gandhi's murder, So that time there were riots all over India. So for 34 days there was confinement. The students in Satya Sai Baba's ashram in Puttaparthi. So he delivered 34 days this discourses on Gita. So I find so what a similarity. You listen the videos on talks with Maharshi Ramana and also watch the videos on Satya Sai Baba's Sai Gita. You will be, you will become so thrilled that what is similarity because truth is one. Truth is one. That is what. That's why I am giving videos on Maharshi Ramana's books and Satya Sai Baba's books. So people should realize. See, I am going to Satya Sai Baba's ashram. Then from there I am going to Maharshi Ramana's ashram. People ask me, why do you waste your time, money and all, then you visit? I tell you, my heart, it becomes so sad. Are please realize they are realized souls. Whatever they say true, and truth is always one. Why why you are trying to find difference in truth? So, dear friends, please go through and watch my videos on Sai's Gita and talks. You will realize what I am telling you will realize that is a fact. Because truth is always true. It has no double meaning. So talk number 50, because I'm telling these things because I feel to open my heart because people are so ignorant of a reality that they talk so much. We should not. We should realize the reality. That is the only thing. Unnecessary, somebody is telling something, just listen and do not react. That is the best way. Silence is God. That is what. Talk number 59. A Maulvi asked, how does sleep overtake one? Maharshi. If the enquirer knows who is awake in the wakeful condition, he will also know how sleep comes on. The enquiry arises only to the waking man and not to the sleeper. It must be easier to know the waking self than the sleeping self. Devotee. I know how I awoke, but I do not know how sleep comes on. I am aware of my wakeful state. For instance, if anyone takes away my stick, I prevent his doing so, whereas I cannot do so in sleep or in dream. The proof of wakefulness is evident, but what is the proof of sleep? Maharshi. Your ignorance is the evidence of sleep. Your awareness is that of wakefulness. Devotee, my wakefulness is known by the opening of my eye, but how does sleep overtake me? Maharshi, in the same way as sleep overtakes you, wakefulness also overtakes you. Devotee, but I do not perceive how sleep comes on in the same way as I know my wakefulness. Maharshi, never mind. Devotee, please describe what is sleep without illustrations. Sleep by itself should be known. I want a real picture of sleep. Maharshi, picture is sleep itself. Devotee, is it better to reach salvation being married or being a hermit? Maharshi, whatever you think better. Devotee, Vishwamitra had to fall when in the married state, whereas he had a fall in his hermit life. Does, does it not apply to others also? Maharshi. Vishwamitra was as pure in the hermit life as when he was married. There was no difference. He was as contaminated when married as when he was a hermit. Devotee. Was he a rishi? Maharishi. When contaminated, he was not a rishi. Devotee. Can he become a rishi even afterwards? Maharshi, yes, by proper bhakti, he could become a good rishi. Repentance and prayer will set him right. Devotee, with all your penance for so many years, what have you got? Mercy, I have got what need be got. I see what need be seen. Devotee, can all see the same? Mercy, I see only just what all do. It is immanent in all. Devotee, is this the way for seeing it? Mercy, method may be anything from whatever direction the pilgrims may foregather. They must enter the Kaaba only by one route passage or all gather only to enter the Kaaba. Devotee, please tell me two Upadesas on the way to salvation as known by you. Mercy, what Upadesa do I know? Everything is Upadesa. Worship of God is the only Upadesha. 5th July 1935 on Mona. Silence. Talk 60. Sri Bhagwan. The silence of solitude is forced. Restrained speech in society amounts to silence, for the man then controls his speech. The speaker must come forth before he speaks. If engaged otherwise, speech is restrained. Introverted mind is otherwise active and is not anxious to speak. Mona is a disciplinary measure is meant for limiting the mental activities due to speech. If the mind is otherwise controlled, disciplinary mona is unnecessary. for Mona becomes natural. Vidyarna has said that 12 years forced Mona brings about absolute Mona, that is, makes one unable to speak. It is more like a mute animal than otherwise. That is not Mona. Mona is constant speech. Inactivity is constant activities. July. Mr. Eknatha Rao, how is dhyana practiced with eyes open or closed? Maharshi, it may be done either way. The point is that the mind must be introverted and kept active in its pursuit. Sometimes it happens that when the eyes are closed, the latent thoughts rush forth with great vigor. It may also be difficult to introvert the mind with the eyes open. It requires strength of mind to do so. The mind is contaminated when it takes in objects. Otherwise, it is pure. The main factor in dhyana is to keep the mind active in its own pursuit without taking in external impressions or thinking of other matters. Talk number 62. Mr. Eknatha Rao. What is Saphurna? A kind of indescribable but palpable sensation in the heart center. Maharshi. Saphurna is felt on several occasions, such as in fear, excitement, etc. Although it is always and all over, yet it is felt at a particular center and on particular occasions. It is also associated with antecedent causes and confounded with the body, whereas it is all alone and pure, it is the self. If the mind be fixed on the Saphurna and one senses it continuously and automatically, it is a realization. Again, Saphurna is the foretaste of realization. It is pure. The subject and object proceed from it. If the man mistakes himself for the subject, objects must necessarily appear different from him. They are periodically withdrawn and projected, creating the world and the subject's enjoyment of the same. If, on the other hand, the man feels himself to be the screen on which the subject and object are projected, there can be no confusion and he can remain watching their appearance and disappearance without any perturbation perturbation of the self.